So there's quite a lot of questions here. We'll see whether we can finish tonight, or if not, we'll continue a little bit on tomorrow. Okay. Does mindfulness contains or creates tension? If so, how to remove tension without affecting mindfulness? All right. So, when we do this practice, there'll be some degree of bodily tension here and there. The thing is that this tension is not, in a way, it may be created by the practice, one thing, and also the body has already some tension. Then the mindfulness able to notice it clearer. Then it feels like as if like the practice creating the tension. But nevertheless, if you were to stay here day after day, sometimes people go for 3 months retreat, 6 months retreat, 1 year retreat, every day like this. So there are bound to be some degree of tension here and there. So therefore, if the tension arises, it's not about removing the tension. Yeah? It's about aware of that tension also, to notice the tension. And if sometimes, if the yogi were to over push, for example, especially the yogi tends to very over concentrated on their practice, like for example, if they start walking meditation, they don't want to do all the one phase and so on. They immediately start walking meditation now, lifting, pushing, dropping, lifting. Then imagine you do this for 1 hour. And then every walking. And then with that, the yogis, when they over push, without learning how to relax and so on, then the tension builds up. If you do it one walking, you don't feel it. 2 walkings, perhaps also you may not feel it, but it accumulates over time. It accumulates, then it becomes very stiff, very difficult to do the walking meditation. Usually in this way, there's also an area or a subject or big subject of this vipassana topic that usually also when you go into a longer practice, I also cover. This one, it covers into the balancing of the faculties and the mind, Balancing here, other words, means that there must be you bring it to an optimum state of mind that is clear. Not too much and not too little. That is to say, your objects, if it's clear and you notice things carefully, noticing it well and so on, that means the mind is in the optimum level. But sometimes yogis are impatient. They want to have quick progress. Then they force their practice very hard. Then, for example, if the rising and falling is not clear, they grit their teeth there. Then with that, they over push the practice. When they over push, then it creates a lot of this imbalance of the mind. Then imbalance, it creates the bodily tension and so on. Yeah? So this tension also, not only imbalance, but also sometimes the restless mind also give rise to a lot of bodily tension. Over concentration also tension. Or even sometimes you have certain degree of maybe a bit of a sickness, a little bit of fever, that also create tension. So many things can create tension. So what do we do when tension arises? Next time, if you so happen to notice the tension, make sure you don't do this, Relax, relax, relax. You should not do this. You don't tell yourself relax. What is a better way to do it is that you notice tension in a relaxed way. That means you directly see the nature of the tension, not just psycho yourself, oh, relax, without looking at the nature of tension. So like next time, when you have a lot of tension here and there, maybe sit down to a side or stand there, then just feel the whole body. You feel that the tension here and there. So then notice the tension. Then tension, tension, tension. That will be good because it helps to relax the mind. With that also, we also learn to do the walking, not too much, especially on the third phase. If it's over tense, then we relax, we go faster a little bit on the walking. If we object too shallow, don't over push on it, shift to other objects. Then you maintain the mindfulness, you maintain this one, and also you don't create all kinds of unnecessary tension. So you can still note the tension. Next question. In one of your Dharma talks, you mentioned that third stage of walking meditation can help managing pain during sitting meditation. Can you elaborate on that? Yeah. I mentioned that when a yogi goes through a lot of pain, and you find that it's difficult for you to take note of the pain, and then it's easy for the mind goes into aversion, goes into a lot of thinking. With that, next walking, what you should do, you should get up. You should do the three-phase walking, especially for a longer period of time, maybe up to 40 minutes. Yeah. And this time, make sure that you go as slow as you can and you notice the sensation as best as you can. Or even the lifting, the movement of the lifting, pushing, dropping. Sometimes you can notice it like different lifting, 2 or 3 lifting, 2 or 3 pushing, 2 or 3 droppings, and the sensation that arises, however it comes up. So you notice those things and you repeat it again and again. After 2 or 3 walkings in that way, normally yogis will have that energy, mental effort. That mental effort has been developed, and that effort that comes together with the mindfulness. So that one, when it comes to the sitting, especially with the pain, then this time, although the pain is strong, but because of that strength of the mindfulness, because of that power of that mindfulness that you have, then while you're noticing all the various pain, but the mind is not affected, or it will take you a longer period of time before the aversion comes in. And that is important. That one is something that if you're able to do this walking meditation thoroughly, then you see the effect that is, in a way, it's connected with the walking and with the sitting, and especially in the pain. Yeah? Actually, not only in the pain, but also when it comes to the rising and falling, then the rising falling tends to be clearer and able to last longer for you to notice. Or even other object comes up, you're also able to notice it clearer than before. Yeah. So here the walking meditation is really important. Yeah. Especially the way of what we do over here. Many times, this walking meditation is not being properly done. Usually, yogis in other form of meditation, walking meditation is just passing time. You're just waiting, walking, go around, walk in the garden, and time's up, come back, and then you want to walk. You want to fight it through. Come on. You're not continuous mindfulness, you're not sharp enough, then the sitting will become affected. Then a lot of times you cannot develop. Why? One of the biggest reason that yogi cannot develop is this walking meditation. All right. Wow, this is a long one. Look at the back there. Practicing vipassana will not reach jhana stages, which is not the goal. Okay. We will not reach jhana, all right? We are following the Satipatthana Sutta for foundation of mindfulness, all right? But in the Nikayas, Buddha must often described in his practice by sitting under a tree, meditating, by reaching the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and by practicing the four immeasurables before reach nirvana. Was the Buddha not practicing vipassana during those incidences? Is it easier for the Buddha to reach jhana reach the jhana? That's the reason. I know what you mean over here. Let me rephrase the whole thing. In the text, in the suttas, it is mentioned that before the bodhisattva reach the enlightenment to be the Buddha, so he did the four jhanas, and then with the four jhanas, after that, he turns into the dependent origination. And dependent origination comes about the full enlightenment, became the Buddha. Yes, it is mentioned in that way. But this is what is being mentioned in this one, in the text. But is it that meant that we must follow that way? Now, this is how I understand. The bodhisattva, before he reached the Buddhahood, his delusion is not over yet. He doesn't even know this is four foundation of mindfulness. There's no such thing as four foundation of mindfulness for that bodhisattva. You understand? The four foundation of mindfulness is only the Buddha arises, then only he teach the four foundation of mindfulness. But why does it able to do it then? Again here, it's only a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva with coming to his perfection, to almost there already, almost ripened, then he can do the four foundation of mindfulness without anybody teaching him. But although this one is only for the bodhisattva before he reach enlightenment, and this satipatthana or this vipassana or whatever you want to call it, he doesn't know it even from his childbirth, from young until he reached before enlightenment. There's no such thing as satipatthana. So, but the bodhisattva able to do it because of his past life and everything. Then, here, at the last moment, before enlightenment, he has to go through the mind and bodily processes, and therefore he sees into the condition, he sees into the dependent origination. Everything goes into first stage of enlightenment, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, reaching arahantship. Together with that arahantship, it comes with the fruition as the Buddha. Now, after he became the Buddha, after all his delusion is all removed, he can fully awaken. Then when he awakened, he looked at beings. And the beings, for example, there are beings can be enlightened, but there are different ways of enlightenment. You can start off with jhana, and then vipassana, which is falls under satipatthana, or you can only develop vipassana to reach the goal, which is also falls under satipatthana. So satipatthana is quite a wide thing that the Buddha developed only after he became. When he became the Buddha, only he sees that there are different ways, and this is called satipatthana, which is also in a way, in the past Buddha also have seen that one too. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that we have to follow the way of the Bodhisattva. Here the Buddha taught that there are different ways of doing it. If you want to develop samatha meditation and to reach jhana, actual jhana, not your quiet and then you interpret as those as jhana. That is, there are thousands of people like that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that whichever way you want to choose, and you want to start off, you think that you start off with all the samatha meditation, reaching jhana, and then vipassana enlightenment will be faster. You come back to vipassana, then it will be faster. No. I'm sorry to say that is no. In fact, you're taking a longer cut, not a shorter cut. Much longer cut, actually. Yeah. You see, the reason is that if you believe that you must have jhana first, then only you can only gain enlightenment. That is what the Bodhisattva did, because that time he doesn't know what is the actual path yet. If he knows what the actual path, he will already become the Buddha. But he's still a bodhisattva, so he doesn't know. He keep on trying this and trying that. Yeah. You know that how he tried until he take his finger, he touched the belly, then touched the backbone. You touch your belly and see what you get. What do you get? You get fat. There's a statue just at the gazebo there, just beside there. That is the Bodhisattva with all the bones there. That one, how he practiced. So, he tried different ways. He doesn't know what way is the right way. So he tried the jhana first. Then with the jhana, the mind goes into deep concentration. Then maturity of the perfection comes in. Then he dwell into that. Bodily processes, mind and bodily processes, conditioning, enlightenment take place. So, for us, if you able to develop, if your mind is sharp and keen and clear, whichever way, whether you take up samatha or take up vipassana, as long as you understand the teachings of the Buddha correctly, and you know exactly what to do, if you are keen, samatha you actually also able to develop. Vipassana also actually you are able to develop. Because in a way, fundamentally, they're sharing almost the same components of the mind. It's only the object is different. So, in other words, if you can develop vipassana clearly and so on, normally with that mindfulness and concentration, you can also bring it to samatha meditation, and also actually you can develop too, because fundamentals they are the same. Technically, practically, there's another thing. So, so it needs the Buddha to teach us satipatthana, and until we understand that part, we understand that part. There are whether you have to go by samatha vipassana or only vipassana to achieve that enlightenment, whichever way you want to choose, is perfectly all right. But here, theoretically, it's like that, but practically, do you have the time? 12 days is so difficult even to get leave. Not only from your work, but from your family members too, It's not easy. Then you are talking about you want to develop this jhana, that jhana. Okay. And you see, So this is the thing here. Now, next question. Is it okay to shift hands a little during sitting meditation, since the hands get quite stiff after long sitting? Should or should not? You should not. The stiffness you have to notice as an object as best as possible. Sooner or later, the stiffness in some sitting will come in. Even that it gets sweaty, it gets warm, and so on. You should try to sit there as best as you can, as clear as you can. You don't realize that sometimes that small little shifting behind it is a lot of craving. And if you are not careful with it, every time that little stiff, the first thing is not noting. It's always that shifting away. Yeah. But if so happen once in a blue moon you happen to do it, you be aware of it. Then tell yourself, don't do it as best as you can. Yeah. How to end the vipassana sitting meditation? Suitable way to end the sitting. All right. How do you end a sitting? Just get up. Of course, again here, once you want to end the sitting, even sometimes people notice the intention of opening up the eyes, if you can able to catch hold of it. But then, although at the end of the sitting, sometimes the pain, the stiffness of the body and so on is there. Now here again, you must slowly lift up your leg mindfully, carefully, clearly. Lift it up until your pain and stiffness, everything slowly go away. And then also it's good that sometimes just to check your leg or knees or wherever to see whether any cramps here and there or not. Sometimes you sit down for an hour, you don't realize that the cramp has been developing at the behind or background, because sometimes yogis, their concentration power is quite strong. This tension, this cramp is at the background. Their rising and falling may be clearer than all their pain and all their cramps. Then if you were to get up immediately without realizing, sometimes people, the yogi fall down now because suddenly the leg no strength. Did no strength, and then they fell down. And I've heard that people broke their ankle because of that. Because after they walk, they got nowhere to hold. Then suddenly the leg give out. then there'll be a problem. So kind of like you check yourself for a while, be mindful. Then before you want to get up, make the intention, then slowly get up. Yeah? This is a good way to do that. Yeah? To end when it comes to the sitting, end of the vipassana sitting. How to use vipassana to experience non-self? There's no use of vipassana. All you need to do is just practice. Keep on practicing. Sometimes, no, a lot of times, you see, the word non-self itself, it's concept. All right. The experiences you may experience it in your own way, and also you have your own words for it sometimes after you see the experiences, what is going on, but you don't realize that what you experience is actually is a portion or a part of non-self, but you have seen it. You may not have the theoretical understanding that this experience falls under, in a way, non-self. If you're not able to do so, it's perfectly okay. You will still progress. But if you do dwell into the thoughts, you don't want to see or this one anymore. You thought that, oh, good, now I see non-self already. So you're so happy. Then you forget to note again your objects of your meditation. Then you get stuck. You thought that you have seen non-self. Ha! There are so many layers of non-self. You only see a portion, a little bit, you're so happy. Now, for example, just to give you a few experiences of non-self, but sometimes yogi don't realize that they are seeing it as non-self. Yeah. Now, say for example, you are noticing rising, falling, and it's quite clear. Then suddenly you notice it like from here, like you are sitting outside there. Hey, I kind of like see my rising, falling like in the front like that. Something like that is also a portion or a glimpse of the perception of non-self. Anatta is part of it only. Now, another aspect of non-self, which is noticing the intention. Then you notice the intention. When it comes to a deeper aspect, when you notice the intention, then only that thing move. If intention does not arise, the leg does not move or the hand does not move. Again and again, these things, it repeat itself, the experience repeat itself. That too falls under non-self. Right? Or sometime, for example, you're noticing you're rising and falling. Then rising and falling as if like it's moving in a very random manner, for example. Like you kind of like no control towards it. That you kind of like you see what is, that too falls under, in a way, non-self. So there's more for us to see. But we don't have to, everything you have to interpret that as non-self. You think, for example, you know your dukkha. Just because here pain, there pain, everywhere pain. Oh, I know dukkha. Ha! You don't really know dukkha yet. You only know a portion of dukkha only, which you understand as all pain here, pain there, pain everywhere. But there are different aspects of dukkha that it comes together with the pleasant feelings. How could something that is pleasant is dukkha, is suffering, is unsatisfactory? Because when you see how it change, moment to moment change, actually you feel the unsatisfactoriness of everything, of it also. That another aspect of dukkha. So the dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta, all these things is just words that we categorize that experiences, We categorize those experiences, it falls under the grouping of anicca. Then that group of experiences fall under dukkha. That group of this one fall under anatta. So finally, if you practicing this meditation more and more and more, you come to realize it yourself. May not be all the time the theory aspect and your experiences all match. Sometimes you don't even understand the theory that much, but you keep on experiencing what is truly going on in the mind bodily processes, then you will go forward. You will develop this vipassana. Then the non-self, everything will be seen in your own way. Thirsty. As one progresses in insight meditation, one may notice more unwholesomeness within him or her, even outside of retreat. For example, self-centeredness and anger, etc. How to identify if this is a progress or digress in meditation? For example, wrong mindfulness or wrong concentration development. Okay, so it says here that if you develop the insight meditation, the vipassana, one may notice the unwholesomeness, sort of like even in the outside when you are out of the retreat. Yeah. So how do you identify whether this is progress or digress? In the vipassana, in terms of vipassana, there's, if you keep on practicing and going and so on, there's no such thing as digress on it. It's just progress only. But the thing is that sometimes the progress is just slower. And it feels like you're going nowhere practicing, but it's actually you're still going somewhere. It's just faster or slower. Therefore, why is it that sometimes there are yogis, after they retreat, they notice that their defilements and their mental anger and so on becomes noticeable or felt that it's more. And actually, it's not that you have more or less. It's just that previously you have not seen it. I mean, it's there. You don't understood it, but after retreat, then because of that, you have seen the states of mind in a more, sometimes in a more subtle manner. Then you can able to identify quicker and notice them more frequently. Then, in a way, it seems like one has more defilements. When you kind of like aware of them that they are happening, then it feels like you have more defilements. Actually, you have not more or less defilements. You already have all those things. It's just that you have not seen it that carefully, that clearly. Then it is because of the training. The more you train this mindfulness, therefore the clarity of the mind becomes clearer, sharper, even after a retreat. Although the concentration has concentration and also the mindfulness has already slowly dropped, but then you have a understanding that this state of mind, I've seen it before. You're able to identify them easier, faster, so that you're able to contain that unwholesome mental states, unwholesome mind. So don't worry about this thing. As long as you begin to aware of your desire, your anger, your jealousy, your hatred, fear, and so on, you will notice them sooner or later. it will help you in the long run. It will help you to reduce this type of states of mind. I've seen people with phobia of small things here and there. Sometimes little spider. Ah. Sometimes I talk about snakes. Some people already dare not go out of certain places just because the snake is there. Yeah. Here again, you see the phobia in us, and sometimes all these things, if you're able to notice them well, kind of like able to accept them, kind of able to aware of the 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 state of mind, then it will be very good. Of course, sometimes we kind of have a counter thinking about it. Yeah, hey, you don't have to worry. This is only a snake. If we leave it in their place, we go on our own, then no problem. Kind of like mentally we counter our own fear. So with that, it slowly actually also it will help a more positive thinking to overcome some negative thinking. Yeah, out there it is in a way it's good, but the way of vipassana is that we have to see the horror itself. We want to see the fear itself, in order for us to identify the state of mind. Yeah. Psychological way sometimes is that you say that you phobia about snakes, so you use a certain thinking to overcome the fear of snake. Yeah. But then you still got other so many fears that it will still pop up because the thinking mind does not deal with all other fear. It only deal with that snake only. Yeah? Whereas the way of vipassana, it goes to the source of fear itself. So you deal with this fear. That means next time if you're able to reduce this fear, you also reduce your phobia towards the spider or snake. You also reduce towards whatever spirit and so on and whatever horror thing in the world. Then you cover everything. Yeah? You cover overall, not just one part of it only. So that's why, in a way, noticing it, the source itself, the fear itself, it covers everything, not just one part of where you fear, and then other types of fear you don't cover it. So something like that. Yeah? So it is good that you take notice when you are outside there, to notice the unwholesome mental states too. Yeah? Is it possible that a yogi notice these defilements more and more until the first stage of enlightenment? Hmm? Will you notice these defilements more and more? No, actually. You will notice the defilement less and less. The reason is that because if let's say you are practicing, you don't expect that enlightenment is be out there whenever you're cooking and all that. I don't think that will happen. Mostly is in the meditation center. Now, when a yogi progresses in the meditation, you don't have to face with their defilements, because the mindfulness itself has done its job to keep them away. So the mindfulness itself, the thoroughness of noting, concentration, and so on, the mind stays with all the vipassana object as it progresses and so on. Then these defilements that normally that we have a lot is being in a way have no chance for it to arise. And so when the mindfulness is continuous, when it no chance to arise as it progresses until enlightenment take place. Now, when enlightenment take place, when it uproots certain defilement, you don't even know that it's already uprooted. You don't have to like face the defilement, then you knock it down, oh, enlightened. No, it's not like that now. It's not in that way. It's you the defilement in a way, they are not there at that present moment, but they are what we call a latent. When condition arises, they will spring up again. It's just that right now, because the condition, mindfulness is strong, it has no chance for it to spring up. But when the mindfulness drop or there's a gap, then this defilement may spring up. So, when one attains enlightenment or one's at the path and fruition consciousness, when it eradicates that defilement, you don't even know that it eradicates the defilements. It does its job in the latent level. All the yogi will just pass through it. Then you pass through for a certain higher than did, or you go forward into the meditation. Then there will come to a time, if your wisdom is sharp enough, then it will show you what defilements is already eradicated and what is not eradicated. That one is a little bit more complex talk. Not that I say I do not know, it's just that it's going to be a lot to know what is there and not. So, in other words, you don't have to. The defilements is not going to be a lot. In fact, that it's going to be less and less, but it's not eradicated yet. It's just being, in a way, suppressed by the mindfulness. The wholesome mind is sitting on top of it only. But if the mindfulness drop, this defilement can spring up again. So until that enlightenment take place, it uproots that defilement. Next time, even the condition is there, the defilement may not spring up, will not spring up again. Yeah? So it's something like that. Yeah? Next question. You mentioned out-breath and in-breath samatha technique may not done properly by some meditators. Can you briefly describe the right way, in what circumstances it is most useful? Now, this in-breath, out-breath, you see in the Abhidhamma, or in the commentaries of the suttas also, it is mentioned that they collected the whole suttas and understanding the sutta. It's mentioned that there are 40 types of samatha meditation in the teachings of the Buddha. And then after that, you have one vipassana or satipatthana as its own. So you have vipassana and you have samatha. This in-breath, out-breath, it can be done through the way of vipassana or through the way of samatha. Because, after all, it is in-breath, out-breath. Actually, this rising, falling, you can do it as samatha way or vipassana way. If I were not to teach you how to exactly pay attention to the movement and so on, you will end up in a samatha way. We will just rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. And it will not go any more further than that. So to in-breath, out-breath also the same thing. Now this in-breath, out-breath, if you do the way of samatha, first of all, you must have clear mindfulness. You must have continuous mindfulness also. So where do you get the mindfulness? Where do you get this continuous mindfulness? What do you do over here to have good continuous mindfulness? Exactly. Even in samatha meditation, if you do the walking properly, that is where a clear mindfulness is going to come in. A clear continuous mindfulness is going to come in. Every meditation, you want to have that mindfulness. Therefore, the walking meditation is important. But most of the time, samatha meditator, they ignore the walking meditation. In fact, that the walking meditation is not done it with the way of mindfulness, not the way of vipassana, but the way of mindfulness, they don't even realize that if you go slow, if you go noticing carefully the body aspect and so on, it creates a lot of mindfulness. A lot of times they are walking, it's just even they're walking, they take in breath, out breath. You take such a small object while you're walking, then the mindfulness is very difficult for it to come in. So you need that mindfulness in the walking first, especially with the body walking. Then you transfer that mindfulness. When you go into the sitting, you take notice of this in breath, out breath. You see that this in breath, out breath become very clear. As long as you don't do it with whether it is long, short, fast, slow, and so on, you don't worry about that. You just notice in, out, in, out, in, out. If in breath, out breath turns into like getting less and less and less and less and less, that means something, the in breath, out breath, that means the mindfulness also begins to slowly to fade off. If the mindfulness is clear, this in breath, out breath is always clear. So if the mindfulness is not good enough, then get up or open up the eyes just to make sure that your mind is re-alert again, back to the in breath, out breath. If most of the time yogis, the samatha yogis, if they take this in breath, out breath, and they take until everything become calm, they thought that the next stage is going to come in. The next stage, like a mirror image of the in breath and out breath, is going to come in, which is in a way created by the mind. They call it the nimitta. Yeah, they created by the mind. And what is being created here, sometimes it can be lights, it can be this and that. They thought that it's going to come in. I say, not yet. Not yet also. For that to come in, you need strong mindfulness too. That means your mind is still alert and clear. It's just that not noticing all the pain, not noticing everything else except that object only. And then it can go into a further aspect of development in this in breath, out breath. Sometimes some retreats, I teach vipassana here, but on my own, I do in breath, out breath. Whenever I like, when I do it for this, after that I come back again to rising and falling. So I know what is going on with this in breath, out breath. In beginning also, I don't realize what is going on until when the mind becomes much clearer due to the mindfulness. Then only I understand that this anapana sati, yeah, the word is sati, must be strong and clear there. So, but all in all these things, if you don't want to develop it too far away, as I said, this in breath, out breath, this 40 subject of meditation, sometimes they categorize it to different aspects for some people. For example, those who have a lot of anger issue problem, then they recommend the 4 Brahma Viharas. That means metta, compassion, the mudita, the equanimity. This one is good for that type of people with a lot of this one. And for those with the in-breath, out-breath, if that those people who love to think and ponder, and they use the word discursive thoughts, Other words, for those people who love to reflect, who love to think, who love to use their mind. If then he says that there are those people who are lazy and so on, then like mindfulness of death would be very good. Or those people with a lot of sensual desire or lust or attachment, then they recommend the 32 parts of the body or the 9 cemetery contemplation. So there's a number of things that it goes according to your own personality. Yeah. Uh, Can you recommend several good books on Vipassana meditation? Yeah. There are many Western writers, but not certain about their relevance. Now, here in this Vipassana meditation, especially what we do over here, it would be good that you look for. Nowadays the online part does a lot. You look for Mahasi Sayadaw's book. Mahasi Sayadaw is the one who develops the technique right now, what we are doing here. But people associate that, thinking that Mahasi method is only rising and falling, Yes, sitting in the beginning, yes, but not everything about rising, falling only. That's where a lot of people get it wrong. Yeah? So um, this Mahasi himself, there's a lot of books there. There are a lot of books. Sometimes the English may be a bit dry, but you have to be patient and to read through, because it's translated from Burmese into English, and sometimes the Burmese is the one who translates into English. So sometimes the English can be a bit dry, but nevertheless, learn to take up the contents. And it's a lot of understanding helpful inside there. Sayadaw U Pandita, my preceptor, for as a monk here, passed away. Yeah, he also got a number of books. Also like Chame Sayadaw, also he written a number of books. And then there are other Sayadaws also from Burma. In the terms of this method, so they not only about the method, but how this method and the Dharma are all related. So it's interesting to read. Reverend Sujiva also is a good book for you all to read. Practice, and also in the terms of understanding about the this one. And all these things nowadays you can get it online. Because sometimes the physical book may not that easy to get nowadays. Yeah. So these are some of the books that normally I read. Yeah. If you want even more deeper than that, you want to go into various aspects of meditation, then I can recommend you the path of purification, Visuddhimagga, that thick. The word is that small. Oh, you can mention all kinds of things inside there. This one is a kind of like commentary that done 1,000 years ago, or even about 1,000, maybe 1,500 over years ago. They already collected all the things. Then you see how this method, and where all the technique of meditation derive. So that is also one thing. Some Mahasi teachers advise to pay attention primarily to the primary object of rising and falling of the abdomen, so concentration can go faster, and this would help with the insight knowledge development. While Bhante recommend, that means me, while I recommend paying attention to both primary and secondary objects as well as multiple objects at the same time, can Bhante please explain the different results of these approaches and why Bhante recommend the latter? Yeah. Here is that in this method, you see, this method is a very tedious and difficult method. It's not easy. Yeah. When I was start in the beginning, or many yogis starts in the beginning in this method, and sometimes the teachers, the thing is that the teachers want the yogis to report on the rising and falling only, and they are not interested in all other objects like what I talked about. To them, to what the teachers understand is that Mahasi method is rising, falling. And other than that, it's not important. They want to hear rising and falling. If you don't report your rising and falling, you are out. I mean, literally, you have to pack your bags and go, because they think that you are not good enough. Yeah. The problem is with this way of doing it. After I meditated some time, then only I realized that, sorry to say, not all teachers are sitting in the Dharma chair. They have proper meditation experiences. A lot to do from them. They are just from books only, and a lot of them have book knowledge only. Sorry to say that, and I've seen it myself in the past and also currently also. I've seen this type of teachers, and because of that, thinking that Mahasi method is just that narrow thing, then they only want the yogi to report that. So when the yogi report those things, then the yogis also think that development of vipassana, others are not important. Only this is important. Yeah. Whereas actually when I met my teachers of practice, although they look into the rising and falling, but also they want to know how I report on my sitting, walking, and so on. Then I know that these teachers, they have some degree of practice. When I follow this thing, after a number of years, then only I realize why is it that not just only rising and falling. So here, you see, rising and falling is a portion of what Mahasi Sayadaw teach. But a lot of time people think that Mahasi Sayadaw's method is rising and falling. Mahasi Sayadaw method is Satipatthana as a whole. It's Satipatthana as a whole. But because sometimes people lack of practice, they think that the sitting is the most important, walking is not important. Therefore, the sitting is most important. What is the most important right now? The rising and falling is the most important. The rest is not important. So they associate that rising falling with Mahasi method. It's not really that. You read in the Mahasi Sayadaw's book, he mentioned how you note the pain a lot. He mentioned how you should note the thinking mind a lot. Yeah, how you do the walking meditation. Why he recommend 3 phase, why he doesn't recommend more phases, or and so on. He mentioned all these things. Yeah. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about what actually the Mahasi Sayadaw taught. So if we also seen that if yogis would only take up this rising falling only, then what happened to the yogis is that your progress will be even slower, because this rising falling is not going to be clear all the time. If it's not clear, what are you going to do next if you ignore all other objects? Because to you, secondary objects or other objects are not important. Why should I go and take up the other objects when this is only the most important? Then what the yogi did is that they grit their teeth and like that. Then they end up with all kinds of tension, all kinds of pressure and everything. That's what they do. And in this Vipassana retreat, there's a lot of people end up with this tension, this pressure, this headache, and so on. They don't realize that if you keep on overdo just here, just on the belly alone, you're going to end up a lot of tension. Not only that, your continuity of your mindfulness is going to be like, when the object is not there, what are you going to do? Then you sit there waiting. Sitting and touching, you do not know what to do, do not know how to do, pain comes in, you just do not know how to notice. You just grit your teeth only, waiting for the time, or waiting for rising and falling to come back. Thinking comes in, you just don't care, don't bother. You just want that rising and falling only. So because of that, yogis, the experience of the yogi become very narrow. So narrow that they thought that this is the only way for enlightenment, not other thing. So it becomes, so the yogi becomes so narrow and full of tension. Sooner or later, if the yogi do this again and again, I honestly tell you, I've seen yogis have given up on this vipassana because cannot notice what is truly going on. Then when you give up on vipassana, then they will look for something easier, more lighter, more calming, more relaxed. Because when you do more relaxed, there's no tension, there's no pain. It's so nice, you know. Here, the moment you start off this one, sometimes the tension builds up. So because of that, I've seen monks, I've seen nuns give up because of exactly this thing. In the long term, in the long term, they end up giving up on this practice. So because of that, I understood how the practice is to be done, in which way it has to be done. Then that's why I recommend it in this way. Yeah. You'll see the result for yourself. You'll see it for yourself long enough in this practice. If you don't have enough practice, then it's going to be difficult. Yeah. All right. Is it likely that practitioners of other meditation methods will not attain final liberation unless they eventually switch to vipassana way? Will other practitioners of other forms of meditation will not attain final liberation unless they eventually switch to vipassana way? Now, this one is also in a way controversial. Controversial in the sense that people believe differently. People believe differently. People understand the Dhamma differently. Because there are monks actually who said that, very famous monk, still alive nowadays, who, if they said that by the time you practice this first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and also you have this arupa, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth jhana. You finish all these 8 jhana, you come out of that 8 jhana, you're already third stage of enlightenment or arhan already, or the fourth stage already. No vipassana, anything in between. No anicca, dukkha, anatta, no noticing of the mind bodily processes, nothing. You come out, you're already enlightenment. To them, this is what it meant by enlightenment. To them. Yeah. So not everyone subscribe to the to all this enlightenment thing by way of satipatthana and all that thing. To them, the jhana itself, it's satipatthana. To them, it's already there. There are also monks and so on that they don't follow this way of vipassana or even jhana. They create their own way to see lights and everything. And then when the light is blinding shine and then you absorb into the light and so on. Okay, that also nibbana. Yeah. This is what happened in the world. So it's hard to answer you because other meditators, they believe that their way is the best way, is the only way, is the way of enlightenment because they interpret the enlightenment differently. But if you were to read, those more wise teacher, then you'll realize that finally everything has to come back to the way of vipassana, the way of satipatthana. because that is actually directly mentioned in the text itself, in the suttas itself. But as I said, many people have their own understanding. Yeah. What is their attitude towards our very painful and challenging method? Hmm. Many people, many practitioners actually, they don't like this way of practice. Therefore, they say that this way is wrong. The Buddha never start with rising and falling. The Buddha only start this. Because again here, this again like a problem because you lack of understanding, fundamental understanding of what this nature of mind and bodily process. You argue about just because of breath or rising and falling. Whereas as I said, this is only a door to go into a deeper aspect of meditation. Whichever door you do it correctly, you're going to see anicca, dukkha, anatta, the changes that are arising and passing away, whether you do use here or use here. Yeah. We have a purpose why we use this one, as I mentioned earlier on. But then a lot of people, they disagree. They want to do it their way. That's fine. I really respect you. You want to do it your way? Perfectly okay. But the problem is that they will criticize this way. They'll criticize. Yeah. Yeah, the world of meditation is not that peaceful, you know. you go to you go to Thailand, you go to Myanmar, or even in Malaysia. So you hear all this argument, which one is better and all that thing. I'll give up on that. I'll just give up on that. Yeah. Anyway, already 9:30. So I got 2 more questions to go. Tomorrow we will continue on these 2 questions, and then we have closing, and also we're going to maybe discuss a little bit on what we can do at home. Yeah. Okay, we stop here.